Hello and welcome to the Knock on KCLR weekly rugby podcast, KCLR Sport. Of course, we're all joined every week as we are by Paddy Browne, Tom Crotty and James Blanchfield representing Tullow, Carlow and Kilkenny rugby clubs respectively. How are you going, Paddy?
All very good, Stephen. A lot of stuff happening at the moment, so lots to talk about.
Business end of the season is right and there's lots going on and we've a bit to talk about now coming into this weekend and that, but I suppose the main thing is there's a good few teams still in cup action and everything like that as well, so you've all that to look forward to. And of course the women got their first win in the AIL there last weekend as well, so a couple of positive bits and pieces to take from that.
Yeah, that kind of what you mentioned there, the women winning their first AIL match in 2 years, made it a historic weekend, and we will talk a bit more about that. And of course, the big derby match tomorrow between Tullow and Carlow in the quarterfinal of the Towns Cup. But there's lots more to report on. And if you're happy, I'll talk about the underage first, and the seconds and thirds, and finish up with the big Tullow, the J1 match against Salle Palmerston, because that could lead into a little bit of a preview for the Towns Cup quarterfinal against our great neighbours Carlow tomorrow. So I'll take it in that sequence. But just to repeat what you said, it was it always happens this time of the year. The matches come in thick and heavy. We've 8 underage teams still in contention for leagues and plates, and of course the seconds and thirds are still out in the cup, and the women have a huge match tomorrow as well, and of course the big one back in Tullow, and with the first playing against Carlow. So okay, well, just to kick off with the underage, we had 9 matches last weekend, and we had 6 wins, 1 draw and 2 losses. So most of those teams are still in contention for their various leagues. So I'll just say a little bit about each of them. Our under 13 boys had a huge win over a tie, 43-22. And that puts them into the Leinster League Premier semi-final. So that's fantastic for them, their first year in competitive rugby. And that match isn't fixed yet, but they are in the South East Cup final this Sunday against Gorey, and that's going to be played in Wicklow. So that's fantastic for them. The under 14 boys beat Arklow 27-5, but they just missed out on a semi-final by 1 point. But they are in the plate quarter-final against Gorey at the weekend. So that's something for them to look forward to. The under 14 girls, the Rhinos, lost out to Navan 41-32, but they are still, because of previous results, in the semi-final of the Division 2 of the Leinster League, so they've still that to look forward to. No fixture there yet. The under 15 boys had a huge win over New Ross, 54-20, and they're in the semi-final of the Premier Division League now, which is great going. The under 16 boys had a big win over New Ross, 45-29. They then, very busy, that was last Saturday, and then on Wednesday night they go to our neighbours Carlow and beat them in a thriller, 38-24, and those 2 matches within 4 days leaves them in the Division 1 Leinster League semi-final. So the under 16 Rhinos in the plate beat in round 2 of the plate beat Clontarf 29 points to 5. The under 17 boys drew 23-all with Navan, but despite that, they're still in the semi-final of the Premier League. The under 18 boys finished disappointingly. They lost out to Navan in the league semi-final, so they're out of that, and they're beaten 24-39. But they had a great year winning the South East Cup, so that's to look back on. The under 18 girls had no match. So a lot of the underage teams still in contention for semi-finals, and that's so a lot to look forward to that. There's only 2 or 3 matches this coming weekend, but a lot of matches will be upcoming over the coming weeks. Our seconds and thirds were out in the cup. The seconds, who had been having mixed results all year, they did have a good win over Rathdrum, 19-14 away on Sunday, and that was a good win, because Rathdrum, you never know what Rathdrum is. Rathdrum's first team, and they play in the Metropolitan League, so you don't really know what you're going to get. And they took us by surprise last year and beat us in the first round of the cup last year, when we kind of maybe were taken by surprise. But a very tight game this year. The final score was 19-14, and that Tullow had to come from behind to beat a game Rathdrum team. Just to give you the team there on that, because these lads don't often get the mention here. So the full back was William Bryan, the three quarters was Seamus Murphy-Cruz, Billy Lawler, Jack Johnson and Jack O'Brien, out half Paul Canavan, scum half David Tobin, front row Tom Byrne, Michael Ryan, Fee Kavanagh, second row Dylan Thomas and Frank Murphy, the evergreen Frank Murphy, who's won many Towns Cups with Tullow, and the back row Ryan Byrne, Cathal Gorman and Ben Butler. And the subs were Brian Keogh, Cian Doyle, Harry Yeager, Sam Cullen, Jack Byrne, Clark Burgess and Des MacDonald. So well done to them. Now the main difficulty they have is they have a 6-day turnaround and they're away to Naas in the next round, in the second round tomorrow at 12 o'clock. And, you know, most people will want to be in the back eights tomorrow, I suppose. So it will be a bit of a rush. There will be time to get back, of course. But the other point is there's 5 or 6 of those names I mentioned out there would normally be subbing for the first. So whether they play the seconds match and come back and sub or forgo the seconds match, I'm not sure what decision has been taken there yet. Probably a bit of a mixture. I'm sure some of them will not chance the seconds match and some of them will. So that'll be up to the management to decide that. So they're as I said, their second round match is against Naas, which would be Naas thirds. But Naas are looking very strong this year at all levels, and their seconds are in the Towns Cup against Dundalk at the weekend and look very strong after beating Byrne in the first round. So again, it's hard to know what to expect. It's a team we would know very, very little about. So the best of luck to our seconds in that match tomorrow at 12 o'clock up in Naas, and all roads will then lead back to Tullow for the big match between Tullow and Carlow. The thirds hadn't the team all season, but they got a team together last Saturday and again didn't know what to expect. There was a huge interest in the thing. I think they had 35 names down, but they played Navan, which would be Navan Forts because they're a senior team as well, and it wasn't much of a game. Tullow won 48-0, so they didn't learn a whole lot about themselves for that. But they have as we were talking about Carlow and Paddy last week, they have a good mixture of young lads and now lads, and there's a fair bit of enthusiasm there. Sean O'Brien is involved in coaching that team. He was going to play last week but didn't, but he might turn out as if they stay winning. And Louis Kilcoyne is captain. So they're home to RD this coming Sunday at 3 p.m. So that'll be something to look forward to. So that's our seconds and thirds. As we mentioned earlier, Stephen, history was made at the weekend when our valiant ladies had their first win after 2 years in the IL, and after some narrow defeats, they finally produced a win, and that was a great occasion, and the celebrations afterwards reflected that. So they played Cook all the way down from Belfast, who had beaten them pretty well in the early part of the season, but the ladies have been improving as the season went on, and they had a very good win. It was a tight game. 12-7 was the final score. It was tries from Emma Farrell and from Leah Browne, and one conversion from Hilary Griffin. And as well as those three, we had good players in Catherine Dempsey, Zoe Farrell and Alex O'Brien. But as we were told by Alex, it was a team effort. They all played well, and there was great excitement to register that first win. Cook came down pretty up for this game as well, so there was no love lost, I believe, between the sides, and it was a tough match, but Tullow came out the right side of it. So they would love dearly to stay up in the IL and have another crack at it this year, and the improvement as the season went on this year kind of reflects that desire in them to stay playing at that level. But because they are gaining from the experience of playing at the very top level and playing against former internationals and future internationals, so it's fantastic experience. And you know, it's all down now to their final match of the season, which is against Ennis away. And unfortunately, again, a big clash of games on Saturday. The seconds and the first against Carlow, and the ladies will be down in Ennis, so they won't be able to. There'll be no one will be able to see those two matches, the first men and the ladies in Ennis. How will they do down there? They're going down with a bit of confidence. They did lose to Ennis, but only by 3 points before Christmas, and they feel they've improved since that. But as Alex was saying to me earlier, the Ennis, I'm sure, have improved as well, and they'll see it as a relegation match as well. So if Tullow win that match, they will stay up. I think only one team goes down. So it's all really down to that match, and the very, very best of luck to them in that. I mean, it's, as I often say on this podcast, it's a great credit to them to be playing at the highest level for a small club down the country. And, you know, we're very, very proud of them. So the very best of luck to our ladies in Ennis on Saturday at 5:00. So that brings me to, I suppose, the match of the day tomorrow. For a lot of people's point of view, will be the quarter-final of the Cup between Tullow and Carlow. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But just before I do, to reflect on their win last week, I've been reporting here about Tullow needed to get something from their matches against Suttonians and Byrne to stay up in Division 1A, and they didn't get anything out of either of those two matches. So that put him into a relegation playoff against the team that came second in the Division 1B. So that match against Salle Palmerston took place last Saturday at 3:00 in Old Kilcullen, or in Newbridge grounds in Old Kilcullen. And it turned out to be an absolute thriller. Tullow ended up winning 42-32, which sounds like a decent margin, but it was far from it. Tullow were 15 minutes into the second half, Tullow were down by 11 points. They drew level, and after that, and Salle Palmer pulled ahead again. So it was tick and for tack the whole way, all the way through. But it was super rugby. Tullow were 11 points down as well, with about 5 minutes to go to half time, and that looked ominous. But they got a try just before half time and converted it to leave them going in 4 points down. So that gave them a fair bit of hope, and they were playing with a slight breeze and a slight hill in the second half. But nonetheless, it was really exciting second half. Salle Palmerston were very much up for it and brought a very large crowd to the match. Their seconds were after winning their league, and they had a very noisy crowd on the sideline, and they really were up for this. Tullow didn't know what to expect, and as it clashed with the thirds match and with the ladies, we didn't have a huge crowd up there. But nonetheless, the lads pulled it out of the hat. They, I'd say, they had easily their best match of the season. And I'll talk in a minute about the implications of that for tomorrow's match against Carlow. But, you know, certainly it was a fantastic performance. There was three tries, would you believe, from Shane Duffy, and other tries from Dara Johnson and Adam Johnson, Dara Cosgrave, Adam Johnson, and Keane Leonard. And a penalty and 3 conversions from Peter Burgess. The end game was very, very exciting. The sides Tullow were 7 points ahead with into injury time, and Salle Palmerston were attacking the Tullow line for 3 or 4 minutes, I would say, and pounding them, and looked to be over the line a few times. And eventually the referee put his hands up and said that the ball was held up, but the score, it was a let-off for Tullow, but excellent defence, it has to be said, and they kicked down the field. And would you believe they got a penalty then with a minute remaining? So Dara Cosgrave, who's our kind of expert at long-range kicks and has pulled major kicks out of the hat in many matches during the year, took this kick from halfway. Now, the end game was to get the ball out of play and take his full minute for the kick. But he did that, but he also converted it straight across the trim between the posts from the halfway line, which did leave a 10-point margin, which, as I said earlier, sounds emphatic, but really, given the circumstances and with Salle Palmerston attacking the Tullow line minutes before that, it didn't reflect the game, really. We were very happy to come out with a 10-point margin, but that game was nip and tuck. So having said all that, I repeat what I said. I think from my point of view, it was their best performance of the year. The team that lined out, there was a few people missing, was fullback Dara Cosgrave, 3/4 Shane Duffy, Jack Hanlon, Ryan Kern, Adam Johnson, out half Peter Burgess, scrum half Keane Leonard, front row Scott Callback, Corey Lee Hughes, Tom Cashin, second row Martin Cole and Joe Waters, the back row Fiuco Byrne, James O'Brien, Ezra Vai. The replacements were Brian Keogh, Daniel Culleton, Paul Canavan, Colin Gurry, Tom Hughes, Scott Sullivan, and Ben Butler. So just while I think of it, 3 of those players, Peter Burgess, Dara Cosgrave and Scott Sullivan, were starred for Seto along with Noah Cope from Carlow. And the 4 of them represented the Seto team, which beat UCC in the college's final on Wednesday night. And while I was there and I was commentating on the match for Southeast Radio, I was nervously watching the 3 boys to make sure there wasn't any injuries. But thankfully, they came through unscathed, and the 3 of them played key roles in it, as did Noah Cope from Carlow. So that was a great performance and a great night. This college's rugby is very exciting rugby to watch, and there was a huge crowd there, and it was a big occasion on Wednesday night in the Seto grounds in Carlow. So that brings me to the main event tomorrow against our great friends and neighbours Carlow, and we're really looking forward to that. I did say here last week I didn't fancy our chances, and I really genuinely didn't, because of our performances during the year, and the fact that we weren't able to improve those performances against Setonians and Byrne and get the few points we needed to stay up in 1B. Before I get there, I should say also that relegation promotion playoff with Salle Palmerston does leave Tullow with a chance of staying up in Division 1A, but that does depend on Byrne winning the round robin and going up senior. If they don't, Tullow will be in 1B next year, because Malahide looks almost certain to be coming down back to Division 1A from the AIL. So we'll be rooting for Byrne over the next few weeks. They have their first round in that competition tomorrow against Munster's Kilfeacle. And the winners of that will play the winners of Enniskillen and Ballina. So they've 2 matches to win to keep Tullow up in Division 1A, and we wish them the very, very best of luck in that.
Yeah, so Byrne want to go up as well.
That's presuming Byrne want to go up, and we're hearing mixed stories about that. I had heard they didn't, but these stories always get around. And Byrne are a proud team. They were up there fairly recently. They were very competitive against Tullow in their last match, and the celebrations were huge for winning Division 1A. So, a team like that, while you might hear these rumours, I doubt if they'll go out and try and lose the match. Pride does come into it, and the fact also the lower divisions in the AIL next year are going to be divided geographically. That will reduce some of the travel complications for teams like Byrne. They will only have to, if they're up there, they'll only have to travel in the northern half of the country. So that will reduce some of the problems with playing AIL when you have to go from Belfast to Clonakilty, like sometimes, so that might change their attitude. But I agree with you, Steve. Do they want to win? We certainly hope they do, because it'll make a big difference to us, of course, in terms of our league status next year. So looking forward to tomorrow then. As I was saying there, I did say last week I think Carlow were favourites. After our performance against De La Salle, our best performance of the year, I'm not saying we're going to win it, but I'm saying for me now it's a 50-50 match. And I'm so very encouraged by that. There's this other element that comes into it, which you mentioned last week, that Carlow haven't had a match for 3 or 4 weeks, whereas Tullow has had a very competitive match every week. And that can work for you or against you. You're certainly more match fit, but there's more likely to be injuries, etc. And we are carrying a few niggling injuries. But the 3 guys who played on Wednesday night, I think, are okay. We had Shane Duffy, who scored 3 tries last week, came off, as did Adam Johnson, who had a super game last week. Both came off and almost carried off, but I'm told they're okay and they trained during the week. So those 2 guys will be quite important to the cause, as is everybody else, of course. It's a team effort, and all the team played well against Salle Palmerston. So that'll play out tomorrow, whether match fitness is more important than freshness, and we will know more about that at 5:00 tomorrow, Saturday, Steve. The Tullow team is likely to be very similar to the one I called out there that played against Salle Palmerston. Stephen Smith wasn't available, and he did train during the week, and he's very important to the cause in Tullow. So I'm hoping he'll either start or get half a match out of him anyway, because he does make a big difference when he's on the field. Other than that, the team will be along the lines we said, as long as those injuries don't come back to haunt us. It's going to be a massive occasion. Tullow Carlow matches always are. And as I said last week, Carlow are on a bit of a roll. They beat Dundalk in the league, who went on to win the Division 1B, and they seem to have a bit of momentum with them. And that, for me last week, that momentum was going to be more than enough to probably beat Tullow. I've changed my mind on that a little bit now. I'm not saying we're going to beat him, but I think it's now delicately poised. And on the preview in the Nationals this week, Tom was quoted, and Maurice Logar, the Tullow coach, were both quoted as saying it'll be a one-score match. It can go either way, as the matches nearly always do between Tullow and Carlow. They did in the Southeast Cup final there just after Christmas, when Carlow narrowly beat us in the Black Gates. So that was in the Black Gates too. So that also raises the issue of home advantage. There never is really home advantage between Tullow and Carlow. The two pitches are only 10 miles apart, and you get a big crowd from both clubs at all those derby matches. So I think home advantage doesn't really matter that much between Tullow and Carlow. There's going to be a huge crowd there, and there'll be a fantastic atmosphere. There's a pre-match, and there'll be a post-match as well, I'm sure, and keeping an eye on the ladies down in Ennis. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to a cracker. Those Tullow Carlow matches for me are what rugby is all about. They are the highlights of the year, and it's going to be a fantastic occasion. And if the weather is good, there'll be a great crowd out. So yeah, the best of luck to both teams, and especially Tullow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good forecast tomorrow, Paddy, from what I was reading so far. But you're on the 4G anyway down there, so there won't be that much muck flying around, as the lad says. Might be a slippy ball if you get a shower or two, but I think the weather is to be fairly decent.
Yeah, there'll be no muck for sure. And, some people also might say, is the 3G an advantage for Tullow, seeing as we're playing on it every other week? I don't think so. I think Carlow, maybe a little, I don't know. Carlow have a very mobile young team and very skillful backs, so I think they'll relish the fast game that's always produced on the 3G as well, and they certainly did in the Southeast final. It was a very fast game, as you nearly always get on the 3G, and Carlow adapted to that very, very well that day. So yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to predict what's going to happen tomorrow. These games often turn on a few lost lineouts or a few refereeing decisions, and that's fine. We're not cribbing there, but tight games always turn on small things, and I'm sure tomorrow will be no exception.
Absolutely. Yeah, and like you said, Paddy, you do have home advantage, although slight enough as it is, being so close together, and you'll have a good share of Carlow supporters down there as well. But I think, and Tom mentioned it last week, and you were talking about it there earlier, the fact that you have a bit of momentum and coming in off that match against De La Salle, a bit of that freshness. It counts for a lot. Carlow obviously have had good momentum over the past few weeks with the way they're going in the league and everything like that, and the Towns Cup. But the brakes have been put on in terms of match play and match fitness as well. So it really, really is such a delicate balance and a finely poised game that's going to happen tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it now myself, but so many different factors at play as well,
Yeah, we've covered most of them there, and we probably didn't cover the half of them because there'll be so many side tracks going on, and there'll be a lot of crack on the sideline as well, and there'll be a lot of sidebars, as I say. But yeah, it'll be a tight game, and hopefully a great game. I do envisage, if the weather is good, it should be an exciting and good game of rugby.
Yeah, fingers crossed, all goes well. Yeah, that's it. We were due to have Tom Crotty on with us on the podcast, but he, like as is life, we get caught up. You can see I'm recording here from my mobile outside broadcast unit here in the car park in Carlow. That's technology for you. But Paddy, the very best of luck, and of course the very best of luck to Carlow as well. May the best team win on the day as well, and we'll try and catch up with James Blanchfield as well. We'll be wrapping up the season over the next couple of weeks as well, all depending what happens with the Towns Cup and everything, and our local teams progress. Well, at least one of them is going to progress tomorrow, Saturday, be it Tullow or Carlow in the Towns Cup onto the semi-finals, and there's plenty more to play for as well. Like you said, with the ladies, the very best of luck to them as well, and the other different categories. too. So the best of luck to all the local teams this weekend. We're recording this on a Friday, so Leinster are in action in the Aviva tonight. They've named a very, very strong team for that. That's ahead of their Champions Cup match against Edinburgh. So I want to get a couple of miles into the lads' legs and give them a run out there as well. And just news coming through today. I think RG Snyman is missing for the rest of the season. I think he did his ACL cruciate again. So bit of a blow for Leinster in terms of second row and that bit of firepower and physicality and everything. But to be honest, I was probably expecting a lot of injuries coming from the Six Nations with the huge number of Leinster contingent in it. But I think the Leinster came out of it fairly okay.
Yeah, and that's the injury he suffered twice down in Munster, RG Snyman, and he looks indestructible when he's at his best. But the bigger they come, the heavier they fall, I suppose. Yeah, it's a big disappointment. I think Leinster are reasonably well looked after. James Ryan is back to his best, and Joe McCarthy is playing great rugby. I wish Ryan Baird was back, and I'm not sure the update on him. They could do with him as cover there for back row and second row.
He's only back doing pitch work, I think, this week, Paddy. So he's a bit to go, a few weeks to go still.
Okay, so yeah, he was playing great rugby before his injury. So yeah, there's a lot of speculation about Leinster. I read during the week something that I was speculating on last week on this podcast about, like, are they being held back by the Nienaber philosophy of defensive rugby? And by the end of the Six Nations, the Leinster players there, as well as the rest of the non-Leinster players, were playing beautiful rugby. And it's a concern I have, I really do. I have to hand it to Nienaber what he's done in South Africa and the system that people bought into, but it's not as attractive as the game of old that we're playing under Lancaster. And I prefer to see that's what Leinster's natural game is, and I prefer to see them playing attacking rugby. But I hope tonight will tell us that if they reverted to type. So we'll see tonight.
Yeah, fingers crossed, Paddy. I'd have to agree. I like the idea of what Leinster were trying to do with the Nienaber's defensive philosophy, and I think there are elements of it that Leinster use, but as an attacking team predominantly that Leinster is and the way they play, I don't think it's a particularly great fit, and as we've seen, it's not working particularly well. It's hard to marry the two together, to be a lightning fast defensive team that's up in your face, but also to be able to flick a switch and go into attack mode, at the same time, and not to, to leave gaps and everything as well. It's the lads have been struggling to get the hang of it the last couple of seasons, but it's all. We'll see what happens. I don't know if has a new contract given or anything for the next season or whatever like that. I'm not 100% sure about Nienaber's contract situation, but I think there's a lot of good going on with Leinster at the moment, but that's definitely one question mark that the powers that be in Leinster will have to look at. Is that the way they want to go, or what direction? And like you pointed out correctly there, Paddy, you're nail on the head. Look at Ireland's style of play towards the end of the Six Nations, very Leinster-esque. That attack and play, and the physicality side of it as well. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Might see you down at the Black Gates tomorrow, Paddy.
I'll be on commentary with the great Brendan Hennessy. The Bull is going to be there for KCLR. So
two legends.
But as I said, I have a great face for radio. I'll be his beautiful young assistant. So I told him, but that's in the minor role. But Brendan will bring his own unique mark to proceedings at any rate.
Absolutely. It's an absolutely cracking match, and I love this time of the year with the Towns Cup, especially when the local teams get put up against each other. I covered Carlow against Kilkenny a couple of years ago in the quarterfinals. It was a fantastic game as well. They always are, Paddy. It's a great... the Towns Cup is a great competition. There's a great old buzz around it. I really, really enjoy it now. And best of luck in your commentary tomorrow for KCLR. I hope whoever's listening to the podcast will tune in. You know that it's on air there now, so you won't miss a trick if you're in the car or whatever it is. I'll go down and have a look at it myself anyway. And looking forward to it, Paddy. And the best of luck to both teams this weekend.
Thank you, Stephen.
We'll wrap it up there.
Thank you.
Chat to you next week, Paddy. Thanks a million.
Thanks.